Today we're going to talk about how to prevent players from transferring from your team in college football 25. I've had several people reach out to me and ask for clarification on this process. So again, this is how you prevent your own players from entering the transfer portal. As most of y'all are aware, a lot of players in college football 25 have deal breakers. And in order for this player to commit to your school, you must satisfy that deal breaker. That deal breaker is going to be in one of these 14 categories on your screen right now. So like this one is brand exposure, and then this one is pro potential. So for example, this running back right here, Kendrick Raphael, he has a deal breaker you can see in the bottom right for playing style. It says that we need a B- and we currently have a C+. So because of that, that deal breaker is currently in effect, and this player has a greater chance of entering the transfer portal. It's not a guarantee that he will enter the transfer portal, but because that deal breaker is currently in effect, like I said, he has a greater chance of entering the portal. So in order to prevent this guy from transferring, we need to increase our grade for playing style. And in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that. This video is going to mostly focus on playing style. I'm going to talk about the other 13 categories, but I'm not going to really show how to improve those. Each one here in the My School tab, when you go to recruiting, it tells you how to improve these grades. So maybe for some of you, that's all you needed just to get pointed in the right direction. Go read this and it shows you how to improve it. So just do what it says, and then hopefully those guys won't enter the portal. So like I said, I'm going to briefly go through all 14 of these and read them to show you how to improve them. But then I'm going to actually go through a season and show you how to improve your playing style. That way players don't transfer. I think that one's probably the biggest one people are a little confused about, how to improve that grade. So first up, playing style. It says playing style is a measure of how well a specific recruit will fit with what you do. It depends on what your stats your team produces and how those stats align with the recruit's archetype. Increase your team's stats to attract certain archetypes. So right now you can see that I have the field general quarterback selected. So if you hold down the right trigger, you can select a different position and then different archetypes within that position, and it'll tell you exactly how to improve it. So you can see here in the middle, it says how to improve. Passing yards per game impact is very high. Now it says my yards per game is currently 0 because I haven't played a game yet, but the more passing yards, the better, obviously. So if they are a quarterback and I throw for a lot of yards, they're not going to want to transfer because of playing style. Here you can see I changed the position to center with an archetype of power. And to improve this playing style grade, we need to increase our rushing yards per game. So I'm going to come back to playing style in a second after we go through these other 13 categories. And like I said, I'm going to actually show you how to improve the playing style grades. But first, let's go through these other 13 categories that are also important. So we'll just hit on these quickly. Proximity to home. Obviously, you can't really affect this. This is just if a player is close to where your school is located. So if you are NC State like I am and a player is in California, obviously that's going to be a low proximity to home grade. But if you're NC State and the player is in North Carolina, that's going to be a high proximity to home grade. Championship contender. This says it measures how likely your school is to win a championship relative to the rest of the country. Depends on how well your team is performing in the polls as well as the overall quality of your roster. You can improve this grade, number 1, by being ranked higher in the polls. You can see the current media poll rank for me is 22. And then number 2, by increasing your blue chip ratio. And your blue chip ratio is the amount of 4 and 5 stars you have compared to the total number of players on your roster. So if you have 100 total guys on your team, I know you can only have 85 in the game, but just to make the math easy, if you had 100 on your team and 10 of them were 4 and 5 stars, then your blue chip ratio would be 10%. Mine is only 7% right now in the game, but the more than 4 and 5 stars I get, that percentage should go up, which will make my championship contender grade go up as well. Next, we have program tradition, which is all about performing well on the field. You can improve this by going to the national championship, going to the playoff, winning the Heisman, winning your conference, and then going to bowl games. So pretty self-explanatory. The better you do on the field, win the Heisman, win the Natty, win your conference, your program tradition is going to go up. Next, we have brand exposure, which is a measure of how much attention your program gets relative to the rest of the country. And you can see right here how to improve this. National championship games played has the highest impact, and then playoff games played, games of the week played, national TV games played, and then streaming games played. So basically, the bigger games that you play in, the more brand exposure you're going to get, and then your grade is going to increase. Next, we have pro potential, which is a projection of how many players on your roster could get drafted. You can see right here how to improve it. Projected first round picks has very high impact, followed by projected second round picks, projected 3rd round picks, and then projected 4th through 7th round picks. And you can see below we have 2 players that are at risk of transferring, so we need to improve our pro potential grade for these guys not to transfer, or at least not consider transferring. Now you'll notice some of these you can easily improve like over a few games, where some of them like pro potential, it might take a couple years because I don't have really anybody that's supposed to get drafted. I have one guy that's projected the 4th through 7th round pick. So it might take me a couple years to build a better roster and start getting draft picks. Next, we have stadium atmosphere, which takes into account home winning percentage, home attendance percentage, average home game attendance, current home winning streak, and team prestige. And your team prestige is right down here, and it's a composite score of all of your school grades. So right now, NC State is a 3.5-star school, and if those grades improve, then I can move up to 4 stars, 4.5 stars, 5 stars, and so on. So winning games at home and having more fans at your games at home will improve this grade. Next, we have campus lifestyle. This is a grade given by EA, so you can't improve this. It doesn't matter if you win football games or not. This is something that EA put for each school. So NC State has a B-, you might have an A, you might have an A+, you might have a D. You can't affect it. Next, we have academic prestige. This is another one you cannot affect. Obviously, when you're playing the game, you have no way of improving the academics of the school. So again, NC State has a B+, but you could have a D, you could have an A+. You can't change this. Next, we have conference prestige, and technically you can affect this one, but other schools also play a part in this, obviously, because it's the whole conference. So this one looks at the team prestige of every team in the conference and then gives you a grade based off that. So improving your own team prestige will obviously bring up the average, but if other teams suck in the conference, you really can't affect that. The quickest way to improve your conference prestige is literally just to move to a better conference. Up next, we have coach stability, which can be improved by having a high job security, being at the same school for several years, having several years remaining on your contract, and then lastly, making sure that the coordinators have been there for a while as well. So staying at the same school for several years and then also being successful at that school will improve this grade. And then also you probably don't want to hire and fire new coordinators every single year because that will bring down this grade as well. Next, we have coach prestige. The head coach prestige is the most important, but then also the OC and the DC prestige are taken into account. You can improve the coach's prestige by winning games, obviously, and meeting your contract expectations. So the more successful you are, the more this grade will go up. And although I said you shouldn't, fire and hire new coordinators every single year, hiring better coordinators with a higher prestige will obviously improve this grade here. Next, we have playing time, which is pretty self-explanatory. If you have a guy on the team who isn't playing, he might be at risk of transferring, but it's not simply just that. You can see at the bottom, I have a left outside linebacker that is at risk of transferring. So when I filter the position to outside linebacker, you can see what goes into this. Graduating players at this position is important. So you can see I have 0 graduating left outside linebackers. So if this guy isn't getting playing time now, he probably won't be getting playing time next year because I don't have anybody graduating. Underneath that, you can see left outside linebacker position group grade. The overall is 73, and I think actually a lower number here is better because if the overall is lower, that means the player has a better chance of getting playing time. And then lastly, it says committed left outside linebacker prospects. So if you're also bringing in new recruits that play this position, that's going to hurt this grade as well for this specific player. And quickly, if I go to the depth chart, you can see this player is all the way down here. So he's not getting any playing time. Nobody's graduating. So the chances of him getting playing time is very low, which is why he's at risk of transferring because of playing time. Okay, last one, athletic facilities. You can improve this grade by improving your team prestige. So this is kind of like circular reasoning. To improve the athletic facility grade, you need to improve the team prestige. But in order to improve the team prestige, you have to improve all of these grades. So basically, to improve your athletic facilities, you just need to improve all the other My School grades. Okay, so let's get back to playing style. How do you prevent players from transferring if they have a deal breaker in play style? And I think part of the reason people were confused about this one specifically is because it honestly doesn't make that much sense. It's literally on a game-to-game basis. Or I should say, it takes the average from your current season. So if you're only like a couple games in, your average for whatever the stat is, yards, receiving yards, passing yards, tackles for loss, it's going to change drastically over just a couple games. Like, it doesn't make sense to be 2 games into the year and then in the 3rd game, you have a bad game. Let's say you only rush for 30 yards, and then all of a sudden your running back has a deal breaker in place because you didn't run for enough yards. Now, the obvious solution is to just make sure you're getting more rushing yards in the games next, but still, like, it shouldn't change that drastically over just 1 or 2 games. Like, the player should know, oh, this was just a bad game. I'm not going to transfer because of it, right? Either way, let's dive into it. This is how you do it. So right here, you can see I have some players at risk of transferring. Let's just look at the first 2. We have a left guard, Carter, and a halfback, Raphael. And that's the same guy we looked at earlier in the video. Here is the left guard, Anthony Carter. We need to note the tendency right here because that will tell us back on the My School screen what stat we need to improve. So now we know he is an agile left guard. And then for the running back, Kendrick Raphael, he is an elusive back. So heading back to the My School page, you can see I have the position filtered to the agile guard, which is exactly what Carter is. And you can see to improve this, we need rushing yards per game. Now, I haven't played a game yet, so it says our rushing yards per game is 0. Once we play some games, hopefully our grade will improve. Now I've changed the position to elusive back, and exact same thing, it's a running back, so we need rushing yards per game. So that makes it easy. We're gonna go in and play these games, try to improve our rushing yards, and then hopefully you'll see both of these guys disappear from the at-risk players. Okay, I simulated the first 3 games. We are 3-0. And if you look down there at the bottom, we now only have 1 player at risk of transferring for playing style. You can also see now that our rushing yards per game is 172. So that guard that we are looking at and that running back we are looking at are no longer at risk of transferring for playing style because we are running the football. But like I said, now we have this guy named Price who is a defensive end. He's at risk of transferring. So I changed the position to defensive end power rusher because that is what he is. And it says that we need to get sacks. We only have 2 sacks through 3 games, so that's not that good. So let's go play these games, try to get more sacks, and then we'll see if this guy's name is removed from the list. All right, we just got a massive win over Clemson. Let's take a look at the stats. So let's sort it to defense. We needed sacks, and look at that. We got plenty of sacks. Price himself got 2.5 sacks, so that should definitely help this guy from not wanting to transfer. Let me also clarify, the player that is at risk of transferring, he himself does not need to record the stats. The team as a whole just needs to record the stats. And you can see already on the weekly advanced summary that this guy's risk of transfer has gone down. It used to be far to the right and in the red. Now it's further to the left and kind of orange. So now it says we have 6 sacks on the year. Like I said, he is not as much at risk of transferring. Let's play one more game and see if we can get him off that list. All right, another big win. Let's take a look at the stats. So you can see we got a bunch of sacks again. Price had 1.5 himself. And look at that, the weekly summary shows nobody at risk of transferring for play style. So even when we go to the My School tab, again, there's nobody here at risk of transferring for play style. So you can see that since we got more sacks, it removed that guy from the list because our play style shifted to what he wanted. Now again, you can kind of see why I don't exactly like this and why it's a little confusing for some people, because I don't think it should shift that drastically over just 1 or 2 games. You know, that's not exactly play style, because play style is kind of synonymous for scheme. So just because you are running a certain play style or running a certain scheme, it might just not be working. You know, you might not be getting enough sacks, you might not be getting enough rushing yards, but that doesn't mean you're not still doing that play style or still using that scheme. So I think I would like to see EA kind of tweak this, maybe in an update or at least for CFB 26, because it's really annoying when it happens to a recruit, when you're trying to recruit somebody early in the year and your play style is bouncing around because you've only played 2 or 3 games. And then it gets that deal breaker and it locks you out, and then you lose valuable weeks where you can't recruit that player. So maybe they'll adjust that, who knows, but I hope this was helpful. I know I had several people asking me about this. So this is how you prevent players from transferring. You need to take a look at your My School tab and look at the grades and how to improve the grades. And specifically for playstyle, there are certain stats for different position archetypes that you must record in order to improve that grade. Thank you for watching. Follow me on Instagram at BringNCAA Back. Follow me on Twitter at TubbyLight, and then subscribe here for more helpful videos just like this one.